Hey, you're good enough for Detroit, Jay.
But he can't bear what comes with it.
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Here comes that pressure. Mayfield in the middle. It's intercepted. It's Derek Barnes. Seattle's got to make a stop. Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to throw it back to Goff. Who had that on the bingo card? And a second. Oh, here's a little trickery. St. Brown back to Goff. Lee Flicker's got Laporta wide open. Sam Laporta foot race towards the end zone. Diving touchdown. Unreal. 52 for the win. It is just good. Just inside the upright. Jake Bates, hometown hero. And the Lions have come all the way back. Here comes the heat. It's Hutchinson again. Number 3, the hat trick for Aiden Hutchinson.
Blocked there by Zylstra. It's caught by Jamison Williams. There he goes. Foot race with Miller. Foot race with Savage. That is 6 for number 9.
Okay. What is going on, guys? Welcome to the pregame show. I am by myself today. I'm sorry for the little late start today. It's just been a very hectic day, middle of the week type of deal, and that's what the deal usually is when the Lions play on these primetime games in the middle of the week, if it's Monday night or Thursday night. But with that being said, let's get right into this game preview for the Lions. Cowboys, massive game. Very, very huge game for both these teams. Let's talk about the inactives, and then we're going to talk about the implications for this game, what the Lions have to do to come out successful and pull out a victory, a much-needed victory. So let's get into the inactives for both these squads. I'll start off with the Dallas Cowboys inactive report. We're starting off here with edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney. He is inactive. We got wide receiver Jalen Tolbert. We got running back Jadon Blue. We got Tyler Guyton, who is inactive for the Cowboys. We have Jay Toria inactive for the Cowboys, and we have Perion Winfrey inactive for the Dallas Cowboys. So relatively healthy, but Jadeveon Clowney is inactive for this game, which helps the Lions O-line out. So who they got some guys coming back this week, which we'll get into. But now the Lions inactive report, we're starting here with offensive lineman Coyote Oshika. We have safety Kirby Joseph, who's going to be missing his – man, he hasn't played since, the Kansas City game? That's about 2 months ago. We have defensive lineman Tyler Lacey. We have wide receiver Khalif Raymond. We have tight end Hayden Rucci, who they just claimed recently from the Miami Dolphins. Defensive lineman Makai Wingo, inactive for the Detroit Lions. One that I did not mention, and he's going to be good to go in this game, which was a bit of a surprise a little bit. Amon-Ra St. Brown, who suffered an injury in that Green Bay Packers game on Thanksgiving, didn't return that game, didn't practice all week, but is giving it a go. How much of a go he's going to give it, I have no idea, but good news for the Lions' sake that he's going to be out there and a much-needed game. So let's just talk about it. I mean, before we talk about what the Lions have to do and whatnot, let's just talk about the implications of this game right now. The Detroit Lions need this game. I mean, one thing we've seen in the Dan Campbell era since 2022, this is a team that has not lost back-to-back games since 2022, and they are coming off a rough loss to a division opponent, to the Green Bay Packers, and, that was a gut punch, man. And today's going to be a very interesting game to see how are they going to respond to that gut punch, losing on Thanksgiving, losing on national television. Now you have a back-to-back national television game back at home, and the term must win gets thrown out very loosely these days. A lot of people say this is a must-win game. This is a must-win game. This is as close to a must-win game that the Detroit Lions need to have today. Just looking at the playoff percentages, I mean, damn the division now. I mean, you already digged yourself in a pretty deep hole to win the division, but we're talking about just getting in and making the playoffs at this rate. And if the Detroit Lions are able to win this game today versus the Dallas Cowboys, those playoff chances, according to ESPN, increase all the way up to 56%. Now, they're right now around 40-ish, 44-ish rate, 44 to 40-ish percent to make the playoffs. If the Detroit Lions lose this game today, it falls to a 21% chance of making the playoffs. And then you're on the verge of playing the LA Rams on the road with a 2-game losing skid. And that's just not a good sign the way the Rams are playing. And no, I know the fluky stuff happens all the time, and the Rams lost last week. So, they've shown that they're a very good team, but they're not necessarily a juggernaut that can't be beaten. But regardless, that's just not a situation as a Detroit Lions fan. It's just the Detroit Lions team. They cannot afford to be in that situation if they lose this game today. So, the term must win applies today. This is a must-win game for the Detroit Lions. If they want to keep this season alive, if they want to keep playoff hopes alive, they need to win this game on Thursday Night Football versus the Dallas Cowboys. It's a team that you are competing right now with a playoff spot. They're right behind your tail. And just for your sake, you need this game. I mean, this is an NFC opponent. This is a team that's competing with you. You can't keep falling down and expect to make the playoffs. So the Detroit Lions need to win this game today. And it's good news that you got Amon-Ra St. Brown today, because that was going to be a question, is how is this offense going to look without their star receiver? And we saw, a game sample of it last week, and it was okay, but having Amon-Ra St. Brown in any capacity, even if it's a limited capacity, we don't know how it's exactly going to look. We have to see when the game actually starts. But to have him in any capacity today is absolutely huge. So that's good news for the Detroit Lions front, and hopefully, they could pay it off. So let's talk about this Detroit Lions offense now versus this Dallas Cowboys defense. And the big question is how is the Detroit Lions offensive line going to look personnel-wise today, right? Because I mentioned Coyote Oshika suffered an injury and he is inactive for this game. So there is some, shifting around with this offensive line. So let's start off with your tackles. It's the usual suspects with Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell. Those are going to be your tackles. Now the interior is the interesting part. You get Graham Glasgow back this week, who missed Thanksgiving. He's going to be back shifted at center. Tristan Colon, who played center in replacement for Graham Glasgow on Thanksgiving, is going to be shifting to left guard for Coyote Oshika's spot. And then Tate Ratledge will be continuing to play the right guard spot. Some people like myself thought maybe there would be a chance that there could be a guy like Miles Frazier, the rookie from LSU, that get an opportunity to get his first start. That is not the case. Tristan Colon, they're going with the veteran. He is going to be the starting left guard for the Detroit Lions, at least going into the game. It's going to be interesting to see how they, if there is any movement, if they're going to shift around anything. I would expect this is going to be the same 5 all game, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, this is the first time this year that we've kind of seen this combination. Obviously, we're accustomed seeing Decker, Sewell, Ratledge, and pretty much for the most part, Graham Glasgow up the middle. And since Christian Mahogany has been out, we've been, just kind of shifting around that left guard spot. We had Oshika in there for a couple weeks, and now that Oshika's out, they're going with Tristan Colon, who is their versatile veteran who could play both guard and center. So big test for them, man. This is a big test for them. This Dallas Cowboys defense coming into the year was a lot of questions, right? Because they traded their superstar player in Michael Parsons, who we've already seen twice this year in Green Bay. And it was a defense that got off to a pretty rocky start. So you look at the statistics and you look at the numbers, and you think this Dallas Cowboys defense is scoreable, and it definitely is, right? They're not some, stud defense that you can't score on, but they're a defense that is getting more comfortable with each other. And then they went out there at the trade deadline and made 2 pretty big moves that have benefited this Dallas Cowboys defense in a favorable manner for them. First and foremost, they went out there and got defensive tackle Gwen Williams, who we know a lot about. Very, very, very talented player. And that's a tough matchup for the interior, man. I mean, especially, a guy like Tristan Colon is shifting into that left guard spot, Graham Glasgow coming off injury, and then you got a rookie in Tate Ratledge. Like, that's not an easy task. Gwen Williams is one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL, and the Dallas Cowboys were able to acquire him at the deadline. So, they're going to have their hands full. And then, they also went out there and signed traded for a linebacker Logan Wilson from the Cincinnati Bengals. So, again, this defense has been prone to give up big plays, and they've been prone to, have teams score a lot of points on them. But the last couple weeks, the Dallas Cowboys defense has been more efficient, has been more of a problem to be. I mean, in their last couple weeks versus Kansas City, which they were able to pull off that victory, just an overall better performance from the team. Since they've gotten Quinn Williams, the defense has improved mightily. So, you look at the games early in the year and you thought this could be an easier matchup for the Detroit Lions offense to get going. But, with those new pieces that the Cowboys were able to acquire at the deadline has made their defense a little more stout. But at the end of the day, this is still a defense that is scoreable. This is still an offense that should be able to put some points on them. But it's going to be interesting to see how this Detroit Lions offense gets their thing going. I mean, they have some, shifting with the offensive line. You don't know the full availability of Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's going to step up in that receiving core. We saw Jamison Williams last week, or we're going to see a guy like Isaac Tesla maybe step up a little bit more this week. They're going to need it. And then you got some news earlier in the week, or earlier today, that tight end Brock Wright is going on injury reserve, and there's a chance that he could have his season missed. So, very thin at tight end. So these guys are going to have to step up. Your Anthony Friskers, I think they elevated Zach Horton. Like, these guys are going to need to step up. And it's going to be interesting. And most importantly, this offensive line is going to have to hold up, right? It's good that news that you got Graham Glasgow back. That helps for the center position. And, we'll see what Tristan Colon could do at that left guard spot. I mean, it wasn't like Oshika was necessarily killing it out there, but, there's some movement there. So, these guys got to be ready to roll, man. This is a defense, like I said, it's prone to give up points, but they have been better since the trade deadline. So, not as easy of a task as it looked like a couple weeks ago before they were able to acquire Quentin Williams. So we'll see what this Detroit Lions offense could do. They're going to have to be creative out there. They're going to have to be really creative out there. But more importantly, let's shift gears now here to the defensive side of the ball, because that's where you look at the Dallas Cowboys, and that's where this team is scary, man. That's the part that makes this team scary is their offense, right? They have a quarterback that is balling this year in Dak Prescott and just really comfortable with his weapons. And, the Dallas Cowboys went into the offseason acquiring two pretty big pieces, guys that necessarily weren't having, great careers, but they brought them in and took them to the next level, and it's taken their offense to another level. And those two guys are Javonte Williams at the running back spot and George Pickens, who's looking like a legitimate top 5, top 10 receiver since the Dallas Cowboys were able to go acquire him from the Pittsburgh Steelers. This Detroit Lions defense is going to have a handful today. I mean, there is a lot of weapons here in this Dallas Cowboys offense. And we talk about guys you have to circle. I mean, they legitimately have 3 to 4 guys that you have to circle. I mean, this is kind of reminds me of like the Lions offense a little bit of last year, right? When they just had so many playmakers and that any guy that could necessarily beat you, right? I mean, you look at CeeDee Lamb, who's one of the top receivers in this league. George Pickens is balling this year. Jake Ferguson, being the third option in this offense in the passing game, has been balling this year. And then Javonte Williams, that running game, has been balling. So when you're giving Dak all these pieces around him and he's comfortable out there, he's playing one of the better brands of football we've seen out of him since him entering the league, probably since rookie year, right? I mean, he's shown flashes that he can be really good, but this has been the best complementary offense that he's been surrounded with. And, we've seen him really ball out with these guys. So this Detroit Lions defense is going to have a lot on their hand. And, they're a little shorthanded, right? They found out earlier in the week that cornerback Terrion Arnold is going to be on IR and going to miss the remaining of the season with that shoulder injury. So you're going to the depth of your cornerback rooms. Yes, you got DJ Reed back, which helps a lot. But now you're counting on a guy like probably Rocky Ya-Sin to step up again. And, Rocky Ya-Sin showed some nice flashes when he had to step in there for Arnold and DJ Reed earlier in the year. But this is a different animal that the Lions haven't really necessarily faced. And, this is just one of the better passing games you're going to see in the whole NFL, man. I mean, they are some stud receivers with George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb. So it's going to be a handful. I mean, one thing the Lions, if they want to be successful on defense, is first and foremost, They got to get to the bread and butter and stop in this running game. And then secondly, they got to pressure Dak Prescott, because if Dak Prescott has time in the pocket and has time to make multiple reads to these receivers, it doesn't take long for these guys to get open. So this Detroit Lions defense needs to be very stout, and they have to find ways to generate pressure. We've talked about in the last couple of weeks, we haven't seen the Lions blitz much. And blitzing could bite you in the ass, obviously, because it could be a big play. And when you have these dynamic receivers, it could bite you in the ass big time. But that Detroit Lions front four is just not generating enough pressure between Aiden Hutchinson, now Marcus Davenport's back, Al-Quadin Muhammad, and the guys up in the middle with Aleem McNeil, Tyler Williams, and DJ Reader, Roy Lopez. These guys are just not generating enough pressure when they're just setting up four. So this is going to be a big test for Calvin Shepard. How are you going to get creative and generate a pass rush? Because the last 2 weeks, it's been really, really bad. Between last week in Green Bay and then 2 weeks ago versus the Giants, this team has just had a very tough time as far as generating pressure. So, Shep's got a handful on him. Got a handful today to deal with all those dynamic pass catchers and a running back that's balling. So, he's got to get creative and find ways to pressure Dak Prescott and make him uncomfortable. And that's when the Lions did really, really well last year in their matchup versus the Cowboys, was making Dak Prescott uncomfortable. And that's when you saw Dak make some mistakes, throw some interceptions, was under duress all game. So he was uncomfortable. And that moments come from Dak Prescott. Like, he is prone to have those moments. It's kind of similar to Jared Goff a little bit. I think Dak's maybe a little better, but Dak is prone to have problems if you could disrupt what's going on there. So that's on Calvin Shepard to find a way to disrupt it. I mean, not many teams have been able to do it, but if he's able to do it today, then the Lions are in a very fortunate spot, a good spot to go out and win this football game. But it's not going to be easy, man. They got their handful today. And it's going to be interesting to see how they respond, because, I mean, you look at a receiving core like last week, right? They played the Green Bay Packers, who there's not a true number one receiver in that core, in my opinion, right? And especially with Jaden Reed out on IR. You played guys like Christian Watson, you played guys like Dontavion Wicks. They had a tough time with those guys. And then even going back 2 weeks ago, right? The New York Giants, right? They're missing their alpha dog, Malik Neighbors. He's out with the torn ACL. They had a tough time with those guys. Wan'Dale Robinson gave them issues. And now you're playing the elite of the elite. You're playing George Pickens. You're playing CeeDee Lamb. You're playing Jake Ferguson. You're playing the elite of the elite. Calvin Shepard has to have a master game plan today if the Lions want a chance in this game, because if you're not getting pressure on the quarterback, Dak is going to score a touchdown every single drive. And that might sound over-exaggerated. That's just how it's going to go. I mean, if you guys remember the last time Dak Prescott came to Ford Field, and it was a while back, right? And I'm not going to compare this team to that team, right? But Dak Prescott was so comfortable in that game. In 2019, they came to Ford Field. Dak Prescott, I remember clowned on us in the media session afterwards. Says, I could have made multiple reads. He could have taken a nap for all he wanted in the pocket in that game in 2019. And the way the Lions have been generating pressure the last 2 weeks, he could do that today if that's how they're going to play. So these guys have to have a chip on their shoulder. These guys have to be ready to go, and it's a big task for them. So Aiden Hutchinson, Al-Quadin Muhammad, Marcus Davenport, the guys up in the middle, with Aleem, Tyleek, Roy, these guys need to step up, and these guys need to have a big game. You need to disrupt Dak Prescott. You need to make some mistakes, because that's something the Lions have not done a very good job the last couple of weeks, is win the turnover battle. They are not winning the turnover battle, and they're not causing turnovers in general. So that's what the Lions have to do in this game if they want to go out there and steal this game and get back on track and look back at potentially making the playoffs. Because if you are not able to do that today, you have no business making the playoffs. You just don't have any business making it. So this is a big test if you want to show that you are worth the spot. You have an opportunity. There's 5 games left in the season. You have an opportunity to go make a run, and it starts tonight. And you have your hands full tonight. This is a good Dallas Cowboys team. F the record. I don't care what the record says. This is a talented team on paper and what they've shown the last couple of weeks, especially since the trade deadline. They've beaten some impressive teams. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Thanksgiving. They beat the Philadelphia Eagles a couple weeks ago. This is a good football team. So you have to go show that you're a good football team again. And this is as good it gets, guys. This is like a damn near playoff game. If you want to be in the playoffs, you have to win this game. And that's not even a guarantee, but that's just step one if you want to get in there. So big game today. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to feel like a playoff game. I'm glad it's at our house at Ford Field. I know that crowd's going to be ruckus today. White out. It's going to be a fun one today. We haven't seen Dallas come to Detroit in a while. Obviously, with all the debacle that happened 2 years ago with the Dan Skipper reporting eligible, and you guys know what happened there. I know that crowd's going to be ruckus today. Detroit doesn't like Dallas. I don't like Dallas. I don't want to be Dallas's ass. So let's go out there. Let's go win this football game, and let's get back on track and keep this season alive. Because I don't want to talk about the drafts in December. I don't. So let's go out there. Let's win this game. Let's do predictions, and then we'll head out. And I'll see you guys post game where we'll have Malcolm back. All right. So what is the live spread? I last checked, it was 3 points in Detroit's favor, which a little surprising when people are talking. You think Detroit would be the underdogs, right? Just national media, fan base, all that. So Detroit is a 3.5 point favorite going into this game. Dallas Cowboys 6-5-1, Detroit 7-5. Oh man, I've been going back and forth to this game. My heart's telling me Detroit. My head is saying Dallas is a good football team. Damn it, I'm going with my heart. This is a team that I just don't think the Lions could lose. I just don't think the Lions could lose this game. I don't think the season ends today. They have shown that they are not a team that likes to lose back-to-back games. They don't not like it. They just don't lose back-to-back games. So I'm going to continue with the trend. Lions are going to win this game. I'll play safe, though. Lions are going to win this game, but not cover. So I'll have the Dallas Cowboys covering, but the Lions are going to win this game. Let's go score. I'm going high scoring today. Let's go 33-30. It's a 3.5 point spread. So I'm going to go 33-30. Detroit wins this game. Bold prediction. Isaac Tesla catches 2 touchdowns today. 2 touchdowns against the Dallas Cowboys. And we got Malcolm in the chat right now. His prediction is he's got the Cowboys covering and just outright winning. He's going 34-27. So that's the prediction from Malcolm. So he has that streak ending of the Lions not being able to lose back-to-back games. So we'll see what happens, man. It's going to be a real interesting one. It's going to be a real fun one. And I hope for our sake we're on the positive side, man, because this is a game where a lot of Lions fans, not a lot, all of you guys are going to be on the edge of your seat. This is going to be a nerve-wracking game. I think any way we look at it, whether we win or lose, this is going to be nerve-wracking. And I'm hoping we're celebrating post-game, because if they lose this game, it's going to feel like a funeral today. So, all right, that's all I have for you guys today. I appreciate you guys all for joining. I'm sorry for the late start. Game time is 15 minutes away, a little over 15 minutes. See you guys post-game. Hope you guys all enjoyed. I'm out, guys. Peace.